I want to talk about any questions that you have, obviously, about the evaluation method, or any questions about anything really. But Nadia sent me a deal that she was looking at, and I'm going to share that with you, and we're going to talk about what do we need to do to make a property better, and how the sheet can help us to do that. Okay. But before I do that, is there any questions or anything you wanted to, something that you wanted to talk about before we get started? Before I jump into that sheet? It's okay if you don't. Questions will come as we go through it. No, no problem. No problem. My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to get started if that's okay with everybody. Let's just jump into the sheet. Nadia, I got your one you sent me up. So we're going to look at that one together. Okay. Also, someone else sent me business cards. We'll talk about that. Another look. I really like it. I'll share that today. So let's share my screen. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at a deal, and we can see a couple things. And there's a couple questions I'm going to answer about this deal. But let's take it here. Give me 1 second. Let me. 1 second. Just wanna. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. So let's look at this deal here. Nadia, if there's anything you want to jump in and add to this, that's great. I'm just going to go through it. So the asking price is 600,000. Okay. No repairs. Purchase price we're hoping to get it at is 585. Gross monthly rent is 2,982 dollars. The per unit is just under $1,000, 994. If we come down here, we see that the gross revenue is 35,784. So that's just that, the 12,982 right here. That's that multiplied by 12. Okay. And we see the vacancy maintenance property management 20%. That's about where it is. It's healthy, 7,156. Exact expense 33%, 11,806. 808, sorry. Net operating income 16,000. So after we pay our bills, if we paid cash for this property, we'd make $16,819. Okay. So we come down here and we see the gross rent multiplier is 16.77, cap rate's 2.8. Obviously, we like that closer to 6, and the cap rate closer to 10. Okay. So looking at that, just looking at what we have so far, we can see that it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to cash flow because the cap rate is, about 3%, and the gross rent multiplier is almost 17. Okay. When we actually add financing to this, so 75%, is there a reason, Nadia, that you put 75% and 25? Is it really at 75 and 25, or is there a reason it's not 80-20? Just curious. Nadia, you there? Oh, there you go. Blended lenders? Like this is a couple different lenders? Is that what it is? Last minute deal? Okay. So 75-25. Mortgage amount 438, 30-year amortization of 4.4%. We come down here, we see that the yearly cash flow is 9,423, and the monthly cash flow is negative 261. Cash on cash return is minus 6.4. Now this is not shocking at all. This totally makes sense based on income versus purchase price. These two up here, right? Because the income is about, it's less than 0.5% purchase price. Well, 585, it's closer to 50%. But basically half, we're getting half per month, 0.5% per month. And I think if you remember, we talked about trying to get 1%. Now, you don't have to get 1% to make it work. But 1%, you know, it's going to be a decent deal for you to work with. Okay. So looking at this property, and Nadia, just want to share anything about this property or anything that you want to add about this property? Now, Nadia, is this a property, because you said it was real, is this a property you have already? Okay. So we're going to look at how do we improve this property. Now, as a purchaser and as an owner, right? As an owner of this property, okay? So if we're purchasing this property, there's 3 areas, you know, primary areas, and we can talk about a couple other things that we can look at, okay? So let me just change this for a second. Get a different color. Okay, we'll use orange. So let's start with asking price, okay? Now, Nadia, I'm going to go with just as a purchaser, okay? And look at the different ways that we could better improve this property as a buyer, okay? And then we can look at what you can do to improve this property, okay? Asking price is $600. Now, we know, obviously, to improve these numbers down here, right, we could, because the income is the income, right? We could simply just reduce the initial purchase price. So if we the additional purchase price is $585, right? If we brought this down to 500, there we go, 500, 500,000, we can see that we see an improvement in our price. My apologies. Give me 1 second. Did you formulas? There we go. So 500 asking price. That improves this to a 3.4 gross rent multiplier, 13.97. Now this does improve the property, but when we look at cash flow, we're still in the negative. We're still in the negative. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to see what price we would need to get this at to improve, to get it to a property that does, based on the numbers, not changing anything else, just purchase price. What would it take to get this to profit, right? Okay, so let's leave this at 400 as a purchase price. Okay, so still, when we look over here, we're still negative. We're negative about $31 per unit. Okay, per unit. Okay, so still 400,000. So let's go 300,000. So if we go 300,000 on this property, need to change it here. 300,000 on this property, we see that we get to a 5.6. So remember, originally it was 600,000. Okay, and we're asking basically to get this for half the price, 300,000, right? Now that gets us to a 5.6, and if we look over here, we see that the property actually cash flows now almost $100 per unit, which is pretty good. The cash flow, cash on cash returns, still low, 4.5, so we're not quite there yet. But monthly cash flow is now at $100. Now look what we had to do. We had to drop the price down to, 300,000, 50%. Now how likely is that we're going to get this for 50%? How likely is that, you think? Slim and none. We're not going to get this property for 50%. But this is one area that I want to show you that can have an impact, obviously, purchase price. If we go back to 600,000, and usually it's a combination of things, folks, that's going to get you to where you need to be on this property, okay, to any property actually. But the one area obviously is purchase price. Does anybody want to guess where the other areas might be? So one was purchase price. We saw that lowering the purchase price is going to make a property more profitable. Because the income is the income, right? Income's income. How much does it cost us to get that income? That's the question we're asking ourselves, right? So in this case, it's saying for you to get this income, it's going to cost you $600,000 for this property to get $3,000 income. Now, that doesn't sound terrible or anything, but there's costs associated with ownership. We know that. So one of the things that's going to impact the actual outcome of our ability to cash flow property is going to be purchase price, what we actually purchased the property for. So we looked at reducing the purchase price, but we'd have to go quite deep to make that happen, okay? But that's one area. So purchase price is one area. Does anybody want to guess another area that might help us better improve this property? This is to the group. Anybody want to? You went mute for a second. Oh, did I? Funding. Can everybody hear me okay? Sorry about that, Audrey. So what I was saying is, out-of-pocket costs, okay? What I'm saying is, purchase price is one way to better improve our property, reducing the purchase price. There's other ways we can do that. So Jess, when you say funding, repairs, okay, keeps cutting out. Oh, I'm cutting out right now? Now is better? Okay, good. Good. My apologies. Sometimes I have a habit, my hand gets in front of my mouth when I'm talking. Everybody hear me okay now? Good. Isaac, good? Okay, good. So the question is, and you brought some up already. The question is, how do I improve this property? One was purchase price, right? One's purchase price. What's the other ways that I could, better improve it? Now, someone said financing, right? Funding. I think, who was that that said funding was Jess. So Jess, when you say funding, what do you mean by that? Or anybody really? Excuse me. Excuse me. Someone said funding. What do they mean? What do you mean by that? Per unit, yep. That's one of the ways too, yep. The rent. Well, okay, you know what? Let's leave funding out there for a second because let's stay on this section here. But funding is one of them. Per rent is one. Okay, per rent is 20% down, putting 20% down, a little bit less money. That's good. That goes to funding. Share the wealth. Yep, bring in an investor. That goes to funding. Good, Audrey. Okay, so let's do it. Let's lower out-of-pocket partners. Yep, you can do that. Lowering it. That's funding. Yep, good. So why don't we look at? So first was funding. Let's look at rent and expenses. Rent and expenses. Okay, let's look at that. Now, can I increase the rent? Can I increase the rent on these properties? Can I increase the rent? Am I allowed to increase the rent? Is that okay for me to do? Okay. So if they're vacant, yes. So Audrey's making the point if they're vacant. And she's right in that you can't just increase the rent to whatever you want. Now, if you're in Calgary, Alberta, if you're in Alberta, you can because you can raise the rent. You just got to give notice to anything. In Ontario, there's limits to what you can raise the rent per year. That's established. Usually it's the increase of cost of living. So in this case with gross rent or the rent that we bring in, what are the limitations? Well, in Ontario, the limitation is going to be, well, the maximum I can increase the rent is what they allow. Maybe 2%, 1%, 1.5%, 3%, whatever. It's not going to be substantial, but I can increase the rent. And I should do that. I should try to increase the rent based on the maximums allowed by the province. Okay. If the property's vacant, as Audrey said, if the property's vacant, I can list the property for any rent that I want. So I can increase the rent to anything I want, really, right? But what's the limitation of rent? Of saying, could I say, because right now it's about $1,000 per unit. Could I say I want $2,000 per unit? I could say that, but what's going to limit me from being able to do that? What's going to stop me from saying I'm going to get $2,000? If I list this property, it's vacant, and I list it for $2,000, what's the problem with that? Yeah, exactly. Nina's got it, the market, right? The market will determine, the market, which is the people renting your properties, comparable properties, they're going to say properties like your property in this area can only fetch $1,100 as a maximum, right? So I could raise the rent, but the market will tell me when it's too high because nobody will rent my property. So one of the areas that I can improve my property is increasing the rent. So as an example, right? I could increase the rent. From $29.82 to say instead of $3,000, I say $4,000, which is basically $1,300 per unit. Now, if I do that, what does that do to my numbers? Well, of course, it's going to improve my numbers because the income has improved, right? The income has improved, right? Now, if we come over here, would 4,000 give us a positive cash flow? No, even $4,000 would not give us a positive cash flow. But that is one of the areas that we absolutely want to do it. Now, if you fix it up and you make it nicer, absolutely, absolutely, Isaac, Christine, that's true. That being said, there's a maximum no matter how much you improve it, depending on the area and the market. Doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get that money back. You can't increase it. This often happens with rehabs. When someone fixes up a house, they put in marble, countertops, and they got the beautiful floors, and they spend all this money, and they're wondering why they can't get that money back. If you're in a market where the property is roughly between 300 and 400, I wonder, is anybody else experiencing a cutout? Or is it, Isaac, is that, you were saying that you are? Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can change the mic. Hold on. Okay, give me 1 sec. Let me see if I can change that. Okay, give me 1 sec. So I'm going to stop it for a second. Excuse me, sorry about that. I'm going to see if this mic's better, okay, because I have two of them. Okay, maybe the other one's better. How's that? Is that better? It is better? Oh, okay. Much better. Okay, good. I have two mics, so okay, good. Okay, good. Excellent. All right. Let me see. Is the volume okay, or should I go louder? Do you want me to go louder with the volume? No? Okay. If the volume's okay. Okay. Yeah. You guys know I talk loud. I don't. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go back. Let's go back to my screen here. Okay. Good. I'm better. Let me know if you have any other issues. So let's go to my screen. Okay. Monitor. Got it. Okay. Everybody sees okay now? We're okay? Good, good. Everyone's got a visual. Good, good. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so we're talking about rent. Okay, rent is an area that we can improve income to improve the property. But there's limits to that because of the market. But that is definitely an area that we can improve this property. Okay, so rent. Let's put the rent back. The other area is expenses. Expenses. Now, if we go to the expenses over here, Nadia's put the actual expenses in here, okay? Taxes, insurance, water, electricity, gas, all that stuff. She's got it in there, which is awesome, right? And let me see something. 1 sec here. Let me see. That gave us 1108. Let me see. Just want to check the balances there. Okay. Okay. So Nadia, did you touch this formula here? Because this formula was in there. There was a formula in there to add this up. Did you modify that by chance? Because you have the actual expenses in there. That's okay. I can fix it. Hold on 1 sec. Okay. Give me 1 sec. If not, then this times oh, 1 sec. Okay. Okay. When you went through this, okay. When you did this, Nadia, Sam, give us courses on Excel too. All right. So 1108, it's 1103 exactly. I'll make that change later for you, Nadia. I'll fix it for you. Don't worry, and I'll send it back to you. But 1108 is the expense. It's actually 1103, but that's okay. Where on this list do you think we can reduce expenses? Anybody? Is there anywhere on her list that we can reduce expenses? Where? Anybody? Get a shovel? I guess shut off the water? Okay. Insurance? Okay. Could we reduce the insurance, Nadia, on this property? We could see if we could get in a little bit better insurance price. That might help a little bit. Insurance usually is pretty competitive. Okay, taxes we can't move. What else could we move, maybe? There's something we could do. What else can we do? Make the tenants pay for like, okay, there you go. You're getting on it. Yep, that's it. You got it. So we could take the electricity, right, and the water. The tenants could pay for that. So right now, Nadia, you have this all-inclusive, yes? This is all-inclusive, right? The rent includes these expenses, correct? Nadia, it's all-inclusive, right? You there, kiddo? Water on me. Okay. All right. So the water and sewage, 3,500. Could you put separate meters on every unit? Could you do that, Nadia? Folks, can we get the tenants to pay the water bill? Could we do that? Sure, we could. Absolutely, we could. So we can actually, and this is something you should do, maybe consider, Nadia, reach out and see what it would cost. There's a cost. For sure there is. You're absolutely right, Isaac, Christine, you're absolutely right. There's a cost for that. But what we can do is by having our tenants pay that bill, right, they are now managing the cost of that, and we're not managing the cost of that, right? We don't have to worry about that bill anymore, right? So it's a capital cost one time, your cash flow will go up. Yeah, but the thing is, Nadia, if we do this, and this is for everybody, if we make them pay those bills, what area of our income is it going to affect? Well, if I ask my tenants to pay the water and electricity bill, am I still going to get $1,000 per unit? Yes, rent will go down. Absolutely. So Nadia, what do you think realistically? You know this place. What would the rent go down if they were paying that bill? What would you be able to charge? You tell me. What will you be able to charge? Nadia, what do you think the rent you would be able to charge if they were paying that? What would you be able to charge? You have to do some research. Okay, folks, let's imagine that it's $100 less per unit. Okay, maybe $3 bucks off. 300 off? You mean 50 off? Okay. Why don't we go 100 off? Okay, why don't we go 100 off? Okay, let's do 30. Okay, why don't we go? Okay, we'll go 50 then. Let's go 50. If I take off $150 because there's 3 units, so 50 per unit, right? What that's going to do is it's going to drop this down $150. So this is going to be 2832. Okay, now it's $150 less.
But what disappears for us, Nadia? What disappears? The water and sewage, right? So what happens is immediately we improve the property, okay? So there is, as Christine and Isaac said, there is a capital cost for this, right? But it will improve our property, and we won't have to worry about that going up and down in the winter. Like in the winter, it goes up versus the summer. We don't have to worry about that. So the one thing I would tell you, Nadia, is to see what it would cost you to actually make the conversion. Okay, see what it's going to cost you to make the conversion to have them all separated. Okay, does everybody understand that point? Everybody understand that point? Right, that makes sense to everybody, right? So if we can get separate units for each one of them, that's going to help. The point being is reducing expenses. That's what we're trying to do. Reduce expenses. That's the key here, okay? So if we can reduce expenses, in any way, shape, or form, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do, okay? Good stuff, okay? One other way, okay, looking at this, so obviously the electricity could be part of, obviously, water, electricity, hydro. That's all one bill. That can be all reduced too. So the expenses can be reduced. The one other area that you might look at, Nadia, and I don't know how do you feel about your property management company? Do you feel like they're doing a good job for you, Nadia? Property management? Because I really wouldn't want anybody to change the vacancy or maintenance, right? I want you to keep the vacancy and maintenance because at the end of the year, Nadia, that's still your money. If you don't use it, you don't use it, right? It's still your money. But the management, the one thing we could do as management is, if possible, and it might not be possible with this particular property, is on site, we have someone doing property management for us. So one of the units, the person at one of the units takes care of property management for us. They manage the properties, okay? That's a possibility. I'm not saying to do that, Nadia, if it's not possible. But you could have on-site management. Now, if we get on-site management, what we could do, right, is maybe reduce this a little bit, okay? Now, right now, it's $3,398, $283, right, because we took off the electricity bill. That amount of the property, we could maybe reduce that to, say, 5%, right? And it goes into red, folks, because 10% is where it should be. And that's $141. Now, if we reduce that, that's going to improve our position also, right? Because now we're at 15% instead of 20%. But how do we do that? Well, has anybody ever done this before? Anybody had on-site management? Anybody ever done that with a property? Anyone? Okay. When you have an on-site manager, one way you could do that, if you have someone on a property that's taking care of the property, you don't reduce the rent. You don't reduce the rent. You pay them a property management cost per month. And the reason you want to reduce the rent is income determines value, right? So instead of reducing their rent by a couple $100 per month, what you do is you tell them, you're going to pay me your rent, and I'm going to pay you back a property management fee. Does everybody understand why we do that? Does that make sense to everybody? We actually want to keep the rent, the income, to where it is, right? We don't want to reduce the income, right? We don't want to say, well, you're going to get a discounted property because you're going to manage the property. You're going to pay me the rent you usually pay me, and I'm going to pay you a monthly fee for property management. Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody see the reason we want to do that, right? Right? That makes sense, right? We don't want to reduce that income, right? We don't want to reduce that income. So we could pay them a fee, okay? So one of the ways that we can improve a property is by reducing the expenses, okay? So let's put that back at 10, all right? And this, we're going to move back there to 35, okay? So we're going to leave this all. So expenses is another area. So expenses and income is another area. I can increase the rent and reduce the expenses. Should I always be increasing my rent every year? Should I do that every year? Everybody say yes. Yes, every year. Because once the year is gone, you can't go back, right? You want to increase it every year. It might be $25, might be $50. It doesn't matter. You want to increase it every year, okay? So the legal limit, every year you can let your tenants know the rent's going up this much, by $25, $50, right? Now, obviously, the market can sometimes create a resistance for that, right? So as Marwa and Shrey was saying, yeah, you could, there's a possibility that can happen. But usually the increases are relatively small, right? They're relatively small. But if you don't increase it, you can't go back. So you want to increase it every single year that you can, right? Which is basically, a little bit every year. That helps big time. The other area we should always be looking at is reducing our expenses. So Nadia, check out for the cost of getting metered for each apartment. See what the capital cost of that is. See if that improves it. Just let the numbers run. You need any help with that, Nadia? Once you get the cost and everything working out the numbers, you let me know, okay? I can help you out with that and make sure that it makes sense. You can run the numbers by me, and we can see if it makes sense for you, okay? Sound good? Good. All right. So one way, reduce the price. One way, increase gross rent or reduce expenses. That's another way. And the other way that you were saying, people were saying or mentioning, some of you were mentioning was financing, okay? So right now, we're leaving everything the way it is, okay? Right now, we're negative 320, okay? Cash flow per unit. So one of the ways that we can improve it is financing. So if I go 80 and I go 20, okay, as a standard, and let's say I get a more competitive rate, 3%, 30 years, which is available now, right, roughly in that area, we can see that the property did improve, okay? It did improve. Everybody see that? The property improved, okay, for us, right? But the cash flow is still negative. Everybody sees that, right? But it did improve, and it's the real month. Look at your monthly payment. Look at your monthly payment, okay? So originally, we were this, okay? Your monthly payment was $2,243, okay? Now remember, Nadia's put more money into the property. She put 25 instead of 20. So that's going to have an impact, right? If you put up 25%, obviously you have less of a mortgage, right? Because she's only mortgaging now $450 instead of 80% 20. Now watch this number just to see what the effect is. Okay, so 2243. If I make this 80, you can see that it goes up, right? Everybody see that? So if I go 80, I should do 80-20. Doesn't really matter because there's no financing. But you can see it's 323.92. Everybody see that, right? So we went from 75, which was 2243, to 80. Okay, so it went up. We saw that it went up. But if we can reduce this mortgage rate to 3, look what happens. Everybody see that? So the interest rate is very important to us in this case, because by dropping the interest rate, even though we're taking on more debt, now we're taking 480. Originally we were taking, I believe it was 450, right? Yeah, 450. We increased our debt to 480. We reduced the interest rate, and that actually reduced our payment over $200 per month. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. That's cash flow money, right? That's the bottom line money, okay? Now, if we come down here, excuse me, if we come down here, we see that we're still negative. We're still negative. It's 245. Can anybody tell me, is anybody seeing an opportunity here, or maybe, something we could do? Now, we looked at the 3 areas, right? So reduce expenses, increase rent, reduce purchase price, and the other was financing. So based on those 3, what do you think might be a solution for us? If you left at a 75% loan to value and got the better rate, the cash flow would be even better. Yeah, obviously, yep, good point. We could leave this at 75 and 25. That's going to help with cash flow. We're still negative, but it did go down because we have less financing, right? We have less financing on the property. The one thing is, and I think we all know this, at this point, we'd rather have less in a property than more. Yes, right? We'd rather have less. So I'd want you to get this down to 10 if possible. In this case, we're not going to do that because it's not going to work for us. But we want to 10% or less is kind of the goal that we want. 10% or less is the goal that we want when we're doing the property. Now, is anybody seeing something we possibly could do to improve this property? Anybody? Now that you've seen the 3, what do you think? How do we attack properties? Because you're going to see properties similar to this one, and you're trying to improve them. So any suggestions? Just type them out. So shout them out, I guess. What do you think? What do you think we should be focusing on? Which one of them? This is to all of you. Which one do you think we're? I thought every video was. Anybody? You all can still hear me, right? Seller financing, okay. Okay. So, Nadia, seller financing might be a challenge because if we add seller financing, it would depend on the rate, right? Now, that might help us. That might help us. But in this case, Nadia, because the financing and other expenses, that might actually decrease the cash flow because we'd have to pay someone else a percentage. An investor might help us. Yep, an investor might help us. Now, if an investor brings the money to us, the dilemma here, when you talk about an investor would help, but ultimately that wouldn't change the cash flow. If we were paying the investor the 3% on 30 years on 480, that wouldn't change anything for us. And just a quick point, because Nadia, you had a question here. This is the impact to the investor, right? And it says, question, total income of 80K equals 90K minus 9K. Why are we subtracting 9K, not 9K times 5 years? A loss of 9K was incurred every year. The reason, Nadia, does everybody understand that question? Just trying to understand these numbers. Okay? So, Nadia, the loss, if they incurred it, right? The loss this is 24 months, right? So it's not 5 years, right? So the cash flow that you see there, that loss of 8,843, that's split between you and the investor. Okay, so if it's over 2 years, you both would have lost $8,842. Does that make sense? Because the investor is going to lose half of that, you're going to lose half of that. Nadia, does that make sense to you? That's why it's 24. That's why it's 8,000. Does that make sense, Nadia? Yeah. So if I went 60 months, it'd be 22,000 because they'd be losing half of this, $4,421.50 every year. That's why they would, So this actually changes the months depending on how long the investor is on. Okay. So everybody clear on that? This is for the investor, right? So if the investor put up the money, now that it's telling you, obviously there's no ROI because there's no number here for investor. Okay. The investor would appear here. If I went 10 and 10, 10%, right? 10 and 10. Okay. If you come over here, now the investment is $60,000 because that's what the investor is putting up, and now you have a return. Okay. So when we look at that, when we look at the investor, that's where you'd have to put something in there to actually get a number. Does that make sense to everybody? If there's no number there, there's not going to be a number because it's going to assume that you're putting up the money and the bank's putting up the money. Okay. Any questions on that? The B2K is on 5 years though. It depends. You're putting the number, right? So you could put 24 months, you could put 60 months. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you mean? Okay, yeah. So you could put in the months, Nadia. You could put any months. You could do it for 12 months. That'd be 1 year, right? That'd be 1 year. Okay, that would be the loss. Okay. Now, any big questions about that? That was just a side note for Nadia. Is any questions with that? The capital gains is taken for 5 years. If you put in 60 months. So what they make, the capital gains, what they make is this capital gains includes this over here, folks. That's the appreciation. I didn't get into that last week. Can we save the capital gains and the investor part for next week, Nadia? Is that okay, everybody? I'll explain this next week, okay? I just want to stay where we're at. Is that okay with everybody? Everybody okay with that? Any questions before I move on from here? Yeah, I just want to leave that till next week. I promise I'll get into it. I don't want to confuse you right now with this part. It's important, definitely, but that's rate of appreciation. That's something we can look at the next week. Right now, I want to ask the question again, and some of you had some ideas. What should I be attacking on properties? What do you think I should be attacking on properties that's going to help me make a property better? For anybody. It's okay. Don't worry if you're wrong. If you guess wrong, it doesn't matter. Rent, okay, good. I could be attacking rent. That might be an area too. Yeah. Give you a couple more seconds, and I'm gonna let you know. It's okay if you're wrong. Expense is good. So here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. You attack all three. You attack all three areas. That's the right answer, okay? We want to attack all three. So you're not going to get a property for 50% discount, right? So Malik, you're right. Purchase price is definitely part of it. But you've said them all. It's all three of these. It's making sure that I take a little bit from asking price, I take a little bit from expenses, a little bit from rent, and a little bit I'm going to get from financing and creative financing. So you want to attack all three. Don't expect one of them on its own to get you there. That's really tough, right? Because you're asking a lot from that one particular area. So the three areas again are expenses and income, asking price, purchase price, right? And financing. These are the three areas we want to attack all three. Does that make sense? So instead of us trying to get this for 300, let's say we did it for 500, right? As an example, okay? So I get this for 500, and I also increase this to 4,000, right? And I also, 40,000 is a little too much, 4,000. And I also go over here to expenses, and I reduce my expenses by 3,500, right? Because I meter it, right? I get meters on it. And I come over here, and I reduce the financing to 2.75, say, okay? So now, and let's go, 50,000, that's not going to work, okay? Now, okay, 500,000, good. Now I've done a little bit of all of them, and I come down here, and look what happened. Look what happened. Everybody see what happened? So purchase price is 500,000, right? I fixed it. Yeah, there we go. So look what we did. We reduced the purchase price. We increased the rent, right? Reduced expenses, and we got slightly better financing. Look what happened to the property. Everybody see that? Everybody with me? Does that make sense to everybody? So instead of trying to get one particular area to do everything for you, by doing a little bit in each area, that's what's going to make this property work. Does that make sense? Nadia, does that make sense for you? Do you see that? Now, this is an existing property. So Nadia's got some work to do on trying to, maybe meter it, trying to see what we can do with rent. Can you go up to financing again? Yep. So it was 80-20, and I just dropped it to 2.75. So Nina, the investor component, we haven't done any investor component. We could add an investor to it if we wanted to. But right now, the investor we're going to leave aside. I'm going to talk about investors and appreciation next week, okay? Is that okay? Okay. Does everybody see that? By attacking all three areas, my pleasure. By attacking all three areas, it's a much more likely scenario to make a property profitable than trying to do it all, say, just with purchase price. Because it's not realistic to ask a seller to drop their price 50%. You would all agree, yes? That doesn't make any sense. It's not going to happen. But if we can reduce the purchase price, see the opportunity to reduce expenses, get some good financing, we can turn a property that was losing money, and now the property is making $292 per unit, and the cash flow, cash on cash return is 10.5%. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. Any questions about any of the areas that I covered? Any confusion about any of the areas that I covered? And please don't worry, I'm going to go over this sheet again and again. Next week we're going to go over it again, but we're going to add the investor component to it and appreciation. How do we bring an investor in? How do we look at that? And also talk about the limits of what we can offer an investor. What would be good financing? Well, it depends on the type of property. But right now you're in this range. There's rates as low as this, but you're probably in the 3 range. 330 is a good place to look at for financing. If we left it at 330, we'd still be okay. We'd still be okay. Excuse me. It is a lot to take in, for sure. Is it both Isaac and Christine on the call? Because I keep saying Isaac and Christine. Is it both of you on the call or just one of you? Both, good. So how many of you feel a little overwhelmed? How many? Be honest. How many? And I appreciate you brought that up. Feel a little overwhelmed. It was a lot. That was a lot. Yeah, good. All right. Yeah, it is, folks. And you know what? This is what I want to tell you. It's through, and this is why I want you to come to these Tuesday meetings. It's through repetition and trying this stuff out. That's what's going to get you there. And the fact that it takes time and energy to make this work is the reason you're going to be A, successful, B, profitable, and C, other people are not going to do this. They don't know. Do you see how deep this goes? We're starting out. We're starting to look at this. A lot of people just don't know this and understand it like you're going to understand. You won't be able to recognize yourself in 6 months, let alone a year, of how smart you are about property and investing. So I appreciate absolutely the confusion. Yep, Cha-ching, you got that right. You're going to be so much smarter than the person beside you when it comes to investing. That's why you're going to make money. And I can promise you this, as long as you follow the steps you're supposed to follow and you let us help you when you get those properties, you're going to avoid some big mistakes in real estate that can be done, right? We want to make sure they're profitable. So reduction of mistakes is a big part of this. We're not going to make mistakes. We're going to do this together. So in any area, when you come across a property, if there's any confusion, that's when I want you to reach out for help, okay? All right, absolutely, okay? So I know some of this seems a little bit confusing, but I promise you, repeating it and going over it again and again, that's what's going to help you, okay? Okay? So next week, we're going to go over the sheet again, and the week after, we're going to go over the sheet again, and different areas of understanding how to make this work. I promise you, though, as you go through this, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to feel a lot smarter. Could you send me the recording link to this meeting? You keep cutting off. It was hard to take all in. Yeah, absolutely. Where everybody's going to get the link, okay? Would everybody like the link to the meetings? Yes? Okay. All right, give me 1 second. Let me grab it for you. Those of you, anybody have any questions or anything? I know some of it, we're going to review it, I promise. Don't worry. But is there any other questions before I give you that link? That we're going to be successful on the first half expenses. Sure. Let me go to expenses. Management is listed twice. Oh, you mean here and here? Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? The management and maintenance, management, maintenance? Yeah. The reason is, folks, that maintenance and management are listed here and maintenance and management are listed here. Is someone might give you an actual cost. Someone might say maintenance is $2,000 a year, okay? So they might tell you it's $2,000 a year. Now, if it's $2,000 a year, your maintenance here doesn't have to be, 5%, right? Do you see that? Because they might actually give you a cost, right? So I wouldn't put 5% if it was already up here. Do you see that? Does that make sense? So because they might actually give you the expense. So if they gave us the expense, this might be only 1%, right? It'd be 1%. That's because it's being out there. So would it go to 0? If this was 5%, because it's 4.2, right? It's 4.2%. If this was 2,400, if they sent me, said, hey, 24,000, 2,400, we spent 2,400 on maintenance. Yeah, I would make this 0 now. This would be 0. Does that make sense to everybody? So if they give you the exact expense, that's great. I mean, that's awesome. What we want to do as investors is we never want to pretend there's no maintenance on a property. That would be bad. That would be bad. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Good. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? Yes, you will be successful. Step at a time, though, doing it together, okay? The help is what's going to get you there, okay? Make sure you let me help you. Your coaches and your trainers, mentors help you, okay? All right, so let me get you the link. Hold on. Let me see. For the first little bit, is that okay with everybody? Let's just focus on real estate right now. I want our energy to focus on real estate. Okay, yeah, for sure. And I promise I'll invite anybody who wants to get involved in it a little bit down the road, okay? Because I really think that you should be in both. I really think that you should take the opportunity of both. And we can talk about that stuff a little bit later. But right now, it's focusing on the real estate, okay? So now that you got the videos, I'm gonna post this video, and last week's video will be posted tomorrow, okay? So you'll get notification of that. You'll be able to access and watch that again, okay? We'll be able to watch both those videos tomorrow. Sound good? Good? Okay. Let me show you something else I want to share with you. Hold on. Is there any other questions about anything that we covered tonight? I promise you it's going to get easier. We'll work through it together. Is there any questions? Anybody want to ask anything about what we covered? Did you share something about, oh yeah. So momentum is going to be done this Monday or the following Monday, Luis. This Monday or the following Monday, okay? So everybody, that's Rob that joined us tonight. He's there to support you too, okay? If you need any help, Rob's there also. Super accomplished investor, so definitely you want it. If you need help or questions, Rob can help out too, okay, everybody? So he's there for your help too. Yeah, absolutely. He's awesome. Superstar. Since there's an option, is there any way we can do it for February 24th? Is that the following Monday? Is that what it is, Nina? The following Monday? After the long weekend. Let me see what I can find out, Nina. They want to get it up for you guys as quickly as possible. Maybe is that better for everybody? I can't guarantee it, but is it better for everybody after the long weekend? For those of you who want to jump in the momentum? Yeah, sure. I get it. Yeah. Okay, let me see what we can do. We need to finish momentum before start of the courses. Yeah, I agree. You want it in April? You could take that in April. The April one's going to be there, so you can do that. For those of you who want to start a little bit earlier, so Isaac, Christine, you're good for that. Like I said, we're going to get that started up this Monday or the following Monday, okay? And we'll get confirmation on that. No problem. Okay? So everybody's good about that? Everybody's clear about momentum? We're good? Everybody good about momentum? Any questions about that, the momentum? We'll get clarification if it's on. Yeah, so the April one, Isaac, Christine, I know you want to take an April. You're good. Marwan and Shrey, we're going to get that set up. I'll let you know, right? We're going to reach out to you. Me or Rob will let you reach out to you and let you know about that for sure, okay? We're on that for sure, okay? Okay, my pleasure. Okay, wait. Don't anybody leave. I want to show you something else. Someone else shared with me, okay? So I got a business card from Marwa and Shrey. Shay, can I share that? Is it okay? Yeah, please. I really like this card. Okay, let me show you a nice simple card again. Let me see here. Let me bring this up. Okay. Yeah, I like this. Okay, here we go. Hold on one sec. Okay, so let me share my screen. Hold on one sec. Okay. Here we go. Everybody see that okay? Okay. So here we go. Shrey, we got his email here. We got Real Estate Solutions. Nice, clean, easy. Got a little design on the bottom. Like that. It's nice and simple. The brand is the name. Excellent. I love that. We also have Marwa's got hers. Same thing, right? You got the name as the brand. We got the simple email address. It's simple, right? And we got Real Estate Solutions. And yeah, check this out. There we go. That's nice. It's a nice simple, right? And I assume that's on the back, right? That's on the back. Marwa Shrey, that's on the back, right? Of the card? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that's the back of the card. Look how simple this is. And then the front of the card. There we go. Okay? Nice, easy, simple, clean, easy. Yeah, it's very easy. So I like this card. I like the simplicity of this card. Nice and simple. Simple, yeah. Hey guys, check it out. I mentioned it in the group. Oh, okay, good. All right. You share that? Oh, okay, cool. I like it. I emailed mine. Very simple and nice and easy too. Good. Yeah. This is nice and clean. I like these. These are simple design. I like it a lot. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any comments before we wrap up tonight? The one thing, Marwan and Shrey, I'd say the one thing I might say now that I'm looking at, just a quick point, is because it's black, because the card's black on the back, I'm just wondering, and you're probably okay with the yellow, is to add any information on the back, like your telephone number if you want to share it. The only thing you might experiment with maybe different or lighter color on the back or white. Do you know what I mean? Now that I'm looking at it, I'm just wondering about adding any information from it. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, maybe. It depends how big the logo is, though. You might be able to write it on the logo if you make that maybe bigger, maybe. I'm just so you can have something else on it. Okay, good enough. Okay, so next week, any questions before we wrap up? I'm just going to give you a couple of things for next week. We're good? Okay, so next week, this week, your goal is to evaluate 2 properties. Okay, again, 2 properties. Send me whatever you want. Nadia, you know what you got to do, right? Nadia, and if you need any help, you let me know. Okay. So first thing, Nadia, is find out what it would cost to meter the units. See if it is. See if there's an opportunity there. Okay, and the cost. So Nadia, do you have any questions? Good, you're good, right? Get a quote, yeah, for sure. If you have any questions, Nadia, let me know. For everybody else, evaluate a couple properties. Doesn't matter if they're good, bad, or ugly. Doesn't matter. Just try it out. Okay. We're going to cover next week. Next week we're going to cover appreciation in the sheet. Where do you find properties? Anywhere, Olivia. You can find them on MLS. You can try those properties. You're not going to find a lot of opportunity there, but you can try using the sheet on MLS. Also, you can do Kijiji. You can do for sale by owner. You can try different places, But really, I want you to practice, Olivia, really more than anything. Can you share a reference? Also, 3% on investment property. Do you mean Nadia? Do you mean broker, mortgage broker? You reversed it due to phone. Oh, so actually the bank rate is lower than 3 right now at the bank. Nadia, why don't you do this week? Why don't you reach out to your mortgage broker? Reach out to your mortgage broker. Just reach out to your mortgage broker and ask him what's the best rate he can get on that. Okay? What's the premium rate? Just ask for the premium rate. Okay? Okay, good. Will do. Okay. All right. Okay, so next week, I'm going to give you some more information on how to find market rents. Okay, how to find market rents. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, a great resource for market rents. I'm going to show you also some resources to find out trends in market, so market trends. Okay, and we'll talk about how do we, what are the limits we can bring in on an investor. Okay, so those are the 3 topics we'll cover for next week. We're still going to go through the sheet together. We're still going to walk it through. And remember, folks, you're going at your own pace. As much help as you need, you reach out and get the help. Show up on these Tuesday calls. You get smarter every time, I promise. And confusion precedes understanding, okay? So it's okay that you feel a little confused, a little overwhelmed. We can definitely help get you there, okay? Evaluate properties include price, rate, and something else. I just want you to evaluate properties, Luis. Just evaluate property. Any property, I don't care what it is, your own property. I just want you to use the sheet, okay? Use the sheet, okay? And anybody who wants me to review it on the call, I'd love to do that. I appreciate Nadia sharing that with the group. I'd love to do that, okay? So usually we get time to do 1, maybe 2 on a call, okay? All right. Any questions before we wrap up? Any questions? Okay, if you're good, type in yes or Y. Good, 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 good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. Is that everybody? Good, Teresa. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Okay. Any questions? We're good? Everybody good? Okay, this recording will be up typically by tomorrow, most likely. The other one for sure will be up. Last week's will be up tomorrow for sure. Can we foreshadow anyone in wholesale? What do you mean foreshadow? You want to talk about wholesale? Is that what you mean? We can talk about wholesale. That'll be covered. I'll talk about anything that you're working on or what you're doing. Yeah, absolutely. We can talk. I'm going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about lease options. We're going to do that all. But I want to make sure fundamentally that way you know how to understand how to evaluate a property. Does that make sense to everybody? First and foremost, right? Let's evaluate property. Okay? Awesome. Step by step. We're going to go over contracts and agreements too. Don't even worry about it. Okay? All right, folks. We're all good. I'm gonna thank you all for coming. I'll see you next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, same time. Have a great night. And like I said, you can review this recording by tomorrow. If you subscribe, you'll be notified, okay? Everybody have a great night, and I'll see you all next week. My pleasure. My pleasure.